As we have the start list here of the A final of the PR3 mixed Coxed 4. Lane 1, China. Lane 2, France. Lane 3, Great Britain. Lane 4, Germany. Lane 5, USA. And Lane 6, Austria.
So over there, the Chinese crew, Wang Xixi, Zhang Wanbing, Wu Yongyong, Zhang Lingyao, and Yu Li in the Cox's seat. The French, Erika Sazot, Remy Taranto in the 2-seat, Grégoire Biro at 3, Margot Boulot in the stroke seat, Emile Equistepas, the coxswain for the French crew. Probably the race favourites, Frankie Allen up in the bows, Morgan Feist-Noyes in the 2-seat, Guido Raskukaite in 3, Ed Fuller at stroke, and Erin Kennedy, cancer survivor, in the bows, coxing the boat. The Germans impressed here, Suzanne Lackner in the bows, Jan Helmich, the former Cambridge lightweight oarsman, in 2, Mark Lembeck in 3, Catherine Marchand in the stroke seat, Inga Toner coxing. There we see the Americans, Skylar Dowell, Sage Harper, Alex Flynn, Ben Washburn and Emil Eldraka in the Cox's seat. And finally, the Australians over this near side of the course, Susanna Lutzer, Jessica Gallagher, Harrison Nichols, Tom Birtwistle and Tisang Ku once more in the Cox's seat, the 48-year-old from Melbourne University Boat Club.
Well, we have the crews lined up on the start. We almost saw an upset in that first race of the afternoon, the British double. This British 4 have been so commanding in this event. The PR3 mixed Coxed 4. Here we go, getting to the end of the call over. The water looks a little bit bumpy up at the start. The breeze has filled in a little bit. And we're smoothly away, all 4 crews getting out very nicely.
As we ride with the British favourites, closest to it's Fuller in the stroke seat of the British boat from Molesey Boat Club, 20 years of age, hails from the West Country down in Devon.
But it's the French who've got the jump. They're the ones who've got their bow in front at the moment, 40 strokes a minute, just got a small lead on the British 4. Also over here on this side of the course, Australia right up with it.
As we see a shot there of the Australians on screen, Susanna Lutz, 19 years of age in the bow seat, last week announced as a Sport Australia Hall of Fame scholarship recipient, so a fantastic young athlete coming into this boat.
Chinese have got 2 athletes that were in the old LTA 4s in the Paris in London and in Rio when it was only 1,000 metres. Wu and Yu, the Cox. A lot to ask for them. They're off the back at the moment, Chinese over in lane 1, but you could throw a blanket over those crews. There's a big line as they come up towards the 500-metre mark.
Yeah, what a great start to this Coxed 4s race. As you see, 5 crews in a line coming out here through that minute and a half, settling into their pace. It's only that crew on the far side from China who looks slightly like they're struggling.
It's the USA now, just pushing through. Really nice rhythm from the USA crew. Sweep round the back turn as the British edge out into a lead.
And as you'll notice in these boats, the sliding seats indicating that this is the PR3 class. They're rowers with residual function in the legs, which allows them to slide the seat. And this class also includes athletes with a vision impairment.
Well, this American 4 doing a really nice job here, going out with the British. The British were a little bit slow off. They've now got that bow ball up in front, boat number 3. The Germans in between them, but the Americans with that nice rhythm, as you say, Martin, just easy in and out and going with the pace. The Americans sitting at 35 strokes a minute, the same as the British.
It's what we need in the para class, isn't it? We've seen the British win by a decent margin. I think it was quite close in Plovdiv back in 2018, but we need close races, and the Americans really pushing the British at this stage of the race. 600 metres in.
And potentially here it looks like the Australians, we can see Tom Birtwistle on the screen there in the stroke seat, pushing now up onto the Germans. In 2-seat, Jess Gallagher, extraordinary athlete. She's an Australian Paralympic alpine skier, track and field athlete, tandem cyclist and rower, and she was Australia's 2nd female Winter Paralympian and the first Australian woman to win a medal at the Winter Paralympics at the 2010 Vancouver Games. Incredible female athlete coming into the Australian boat. But here we have the Americans, Martin.
Skylar Dahl, the 20-year-old in the bow seat from Minnesota, won gold in the PR3 mixed Coxed fours in the test event in Paris. Sage Harper, Alex Flynn from Massachusetts, both of them, and Ben Washburn from Connecticut. Little Coxon from Massachusetts.
Well, as it is now, the British have easing this out to about a half boat length lead. It's just a small distance each and every stroke, inch by inch, moving away. The Americans are still tracking them in second. It's the Germans through the halfway.
Coming through the 1,000-metre mark, it will be Great Britain in first, US in second, very narrow to the Germans in third, who have started to push their way up. Australia still in fourth, France in fifth, and China in sixth.
And it's interesting, the British have got the experience of Guy Raskukaite in the 3 seat and the newbie Feist Noise in the 2 seat. Just Raskukaite, the Paralympic champion from Tokyo, just anchoring that boat behind the bulk of Ed Fuller.
Yeah, it's interesting the way they've set that boat up, as you say, Martin, with the female athlete in the 3 seat, helping support and set up that rhythm. All her experience will be helpful right now for the British.
Nicola Benavente coaching this crew as she coached the successful PR2 mixed double scull from Britain. Will it be a 1-2 for the British? Frankie Allen up there in the bows, had a birthday at the European Championships in Bled. That was the comeback for the Cox, Erin Kennedy, and how useful must it be to have the experienced voice of Erin in the bows, being pressed so closely by the USA at the moment. Yeah,
the US up 35 strokes per minute. They're about 13 metres down on the British, who are in the lead. Do you think the Americans have something here, or are the British going to be able to cover that move?
They're a young crew, the Americans, you know, just between 22 years of age and 19. And it is great that they're together for this Paralympic cycle. I think they can have a fantastic race with the British. I think it might be asking a little bit too much of them to get through the British at this stage of the race, though. Maybe in the Paralympic cycle as we go through to next year, I think this American crew could be closer.
The British are rowing very well into this headwind, aren't they? It's quite a breeze now, but they're looking very strong, incredibly well matched up together in their body movements. It'll be a big ask for the Americans to come. You can see that gap on your own screens. It's at about 10 metres right now. The Germans comfortably in this bronze. Let's see what they can do from here.
Yeah, so we've got Britain out in front. America, if they can raise a sprint, will be able to challenge the British dominance. The British aren't having it all their own way. And this American crew, coached by Tom Siddle, right in the hunt. There they are, moving beautifully off the back turn. Lovely connection at the front for these Americans, but Britain moving out. Germany in third place. Lackner, Helmlich, Lembeck and Marchand.
And we see the Australians there, pain on their face. They're out of medal contention at this stage. The Germans, the fastest moving boat on the course, but they're going to have to make up clear water if they want to latch onto the Americans, who are sitting firmly in silver.
Well, this one's really opened up in this second 1,000, hasn't it? The British now will be hitting the red boys, 2:50 to go. They want to keep opening that gap against the Americans. The Germans fairly clearly in the bronze medal position. Let's see if the Americans can raise something very special. You see they're up to 37 strokes a minute now in these red boys, but it's only 200 metres to go down to the line.
The British, they are absolutely walking away with this. They are dominant at the front of the field. The Germans desperately hanging in there in second, but they have clear water over, the Americans over the Germans. The Germans starting to get a challenge from behind them, but I think they've done enough to keep themselves in the bronze medal position as they're coming down to the line. What a row here from the British, absolutely looking like the class act that they are.
Once more, it's the British PR3 mixed Cox 4 that will take gold. Erin Kennedy, the cancer survivor in the Cox's seat, will be first across the line. But it's another gold for Great Britain, a fantastic silver for America, and the Germans hold off the charging Australians to grab the bronze medal. Australia finish in fourth. The French will finish in fifth, and Chinese, they will take sixth place when they cross the line.
Well, the Americans did threaten an upset there, didn't they, in that first 500, got out, led the British, and the British had to row a very patient race, get into their rhythm, and then they just managed to ease away from the rest of the field in the second 1,000. But you can see just how much it's hurt all the athletes in this race.
Yeah, I think that's good for para-rowing to see the Americans close up. I think the British have had it all their own way. I think the Germans, you know, probably can get a little bit closer to the first 2 medals. They'll be delighted with their bronze medal, of course.
As we get a replay there from the start. Good start by the Americans to set themselves up early for the race, but this British crew, it's been domination. What's the secret for British para-rowing? They've been so dominant in this boat for so long.
They're full-time at Caversham. You know, I don't think the other athletes can train full-time like the British can at Caversham. It's a simple answer, really. They've got money to support their athletes, and British sport is very well funded.
Yeah, and it's a very well set up and run program, the British para system. So I guess other athletes are seeing these guys going through to the para, so it attracts more talent. So you see new athletes coming through to help continue the reign that this British Coxed 4 continues for yet another year in the PR3 Coxed 4 ahead of the United States and Germany.
Britain.